A&A Masonry, an award-winning company servicing the Greater Toronto Area and the Golden Horseshoe. A&A commonly sees this type of job where there is stone over a porch, where there's a cold room underneath the porch, as in this case. A lot of the calls A&A gets originate from the stone falling apart or coming off. They also see things like cracking and water getting into the cold room, or excessive dampness, or the steps slanting, or things becoming very unsafe and run down looking at the front of the home. It is a specialty of A&A to do this kind of work because of their ability to do masonry work, concrete work, and waterproofing. Having that kind of knowledge allows A&A to remove the problem, do the repair, and put everything back better than it was before, and something that will last for decades and decades in the future. A lot of times with stone masonry work in the Greater Toronto Area, it is estimated that in excess of 70% of that work is done incorrectly, meaning that the pieces of stone are not laid in such a way as to draw the water away from the house, running down the steps, without causing moisture to hold in certain mortar joints, freeze, and cause the stones to pop. And it's because of masonry skill that this is able to be done by A&A Masonry that the work will last for decades without any problems. The problem in this particular case was that the stonework up against the veneer at the side of the house was deteriorating. The stones were popping and the steps had degraded and become a mess. Part of the problem of why this happened is that the eaves troughs above were inferior and water was cascading over the eaves troughs and causing havoc to the inferior work that was not able to handle the water flow. In this case, A&A had to remove all the natural stone from the top. The concrete steps, as a result, with the stone, was starting to fall apart and heave. There was also interlock at the base or the landing that needed to be removed as well. A&A took it down to the concrete surface, which is the ceiling of the cold room, and removed the brick veneer at the base where the concrete slab meets the house. It was necessary to get in behind there to waterproof this with the proper blueskin membrane and to repel any moisture as a primary barrier if any water were to get in behind the stone. That way, the cold room is also protected and sealed from any kind of moisture getting in there as well. Then the stone veneer was installed, making it look fantastic with a combination of beautiful man-made and natural stone. Spacers are used for spacing and aligning the stone during the installation process. These are ideal for quickly and easily spacing and aligning stone as the crew compose a unique tailor-made design for the flat surface of the porch. These are injection molded for dimensional accuracy and do not compress under heavy loads. This helps in creating an exact dimensional installation of the porch for a custom-made beautiful finish. This masonry work was done in a proper way with which to draw water away from the house. Beautiful natural stone steps were then installed going down to the patio. These stone steps can weigh in excess of 500 pounds each. In doing several steps, an excavator is required to lift them and put them in place due to the weight. In this case, as there was only 3 stone pieces, the crew were able to roll them on PVC pipes to get them in the correct position. Getting the stone pieces in the right position, sitting on a correct level for water management, is a specialty of the crew. These steps were set on a beautiful new landing that was laid with beautiful man-made interlocking stone. The stone pieces are laid into a unique custom design made to the measurements of the patio and meeting up with the hedge. This is very artisan work that is also taking water management into account, continuing to flow water away from the house. In this case, a French drain was also installed to catch water coming down from the porch onto the patio and carrying it away. The stone installed on the patio also leads away to a border which carries along both sides of the driveway. This gives a great aesthetic look to the house as you drive up or walk up to the steps. Concerning the water problem that caused the deterioration of the house, the first thing was to correct was the eaves trough. But the configuration of the roof made it challenging as to where to bring the water on that area down and not have it run on the stone. In this case, A&A took the water and gave it a conduit to drop down into a drain that will run under the patio and go towards the street. The conduit channels the water over to a French drain. The reason for this is if it's a solid conduit, you have to take caution, because if the ground freezes, there's nowhere for the water to go from the roof that's melting down to the ground that is frozen. This way, the water can run off the roof and not get jammed with ice and just fall under the surface, and as the ground thaws, the water gets collected and transferred under the ground and out to the street. This way, the stone and masonry work will not be affected by water flowing over the surface of it. The water management, taking the whole home into account, from the water coming off the roof to the eaves trough, down to the stonework and drains, requires the right extra care, understanding, and engineering, displacing the water away from where the work is done. This way, the component parts of the home can last decades in an environment with all the 4 seasons. Most jobs that suffer decay within 5 to 10 years is because nobody took the care and time to fully put in water management. Understanding water and water management is a specialty of A&A and is the difference between work lasting and not lasting. The driveway was also included in this job, where A&A removed the asphalt as it was cracking and getting compressed. If the border and the subgrade on asphalt are not formed properly, as was the case here, it can then have a tendency to roll away and cause the asphalt to crack. This is where you see a lot of asphalt driveways, where they get compressed and crack and have chunks fall off, causing more water problems. In these types of instances, where the homeowner wants to maintain and have an asphalt driveway, it's much better to have a border on either side. In this case, A&A removed the original asphalt and put in the borders on the outsides of the asphalt to stop future asphalt from rolling away. For these borders, A&A matched it to the patio man-made stone for a great aesthetic look to match its functionality. The final step is then to relay the asphalt. Once this is done with the compressed ground underneath and the borders, the asphalt will be just as good as having concrete there or interlock. Finally, a retaining wall was put on the right side of the driveway where the ground was higher to keep everything in place and to keep things from slipping and sliding with water movement. You can sometimes see on inferior, quicker jobs where less paying attention to detail is done, where the soil only gets sloped, or maybe plants are put in to hold the soil back. But that solution makes the driveway vulnerable, and maybe in 5 years, the contractor is called back to fix the situation. This extra attention to the detail of water allows the job to last for decades and stand the test of time. Combine this with the aesthetic look as it invites the eye up to the patio, steps, and the front door. A job like this increases the value of the home and shows off a wonderful view. So if you care for your home, and if you have an important next project that you're looking at, if you want a top-notch job performed by the best in the business, if you want a job that's going to look gorgeous and last for years and years, call the professionals at A&A and let them get to work for you to make your dream a reality. To schedule your next project, contact A&A Masonry today.